Good afternoon. I'm Andy Cohen, Director of the Office of Financial Readiness in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. Today with me is Don Svensson, Deputy Director of Military Compensation Policy. From September through December of 2020, most service members had their Social Security taxes withholdings deferred in response to the President's memorandum of August 8, 2020. Since this was simply a tax deferral and not a tax holiday or temporary tax cut, the amount deferred is still due to the United States government, with the collection of those deferred taxes to begin this month, January 2021. Today, Don and I will discuss how the collection process will work to include the collection period and a few key reminders to help your personal finances stay in check during this repayment period. So Don, first let me start by asking, how long do service members have to repay the deferred taxes, and how will they be collected for our current service members on active duty?
Well, Andy, originally we expected the deferred Social Security taxes would be collected over 4 months, from January through April of this year. However, in late December, Congress passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act and extended the period for collecting the deferred Social Security taxes over a longer period. As a result, the deferred Social Security taxes will now be collected over the entire calendar year 2021, from January 1st through December 31st of this year. This means that the amount of Social Security taxes deferred in 2020 will now be collected in 24 installments out of your mid-month and end-of-month pay between January 1st and December 31st, instead of the original 8 installments we had expected. If you take a look at the slide, in 2020, a member who was in pay grade E5 with 6 years of service had a monthly basic pay of a little more than $3,000 per month, paid 6.2% in the Social Security tax, and over 4 months, that amounted to $767.44. We are going to collect that $767.44 over 24 installments evenly throughout the calendar year. Dividing 767.44 by 24, this means each mid-month and end-of-month pay, we are going to collect back $31.98 out of the member's pay. Now, we've also received an inquiry that says, hey, can service members select a repayment term? Can we repay it all in a lump sum? However, the guidance from the Internal Revenue Service directs employers to collect the deferred taxes evenly throughout the collection period. So a repayment term or option is not available for the collection of the deferred taxes. We will collect it evenly throughout the calendar year. Now, service members will be able to view the monthly collection amount on the remarks section of their MyPay LES. It will contain the collection amount as well as any remaining balance of the deferred Social Security taxes.
Thank you. And it's important to remember that not only will service members be repaying the deferred taxes, but they still be paying their normal 6.2% Social Security tax withholdings for their 2021 basic pay, starting this month as well. So their OASDI withholdings may be more than because you've received a pay increase. If you look at the chart that you had with the deferral of $31.98 and then have the same E5 over 6 years, they will also be paying another $98.80 per pay period in terms of their tax collection for a total of $130.78 per installment or per pay, be it mid-month and end-of-month for 24 pays over the course of the calendar year in 2021. But Don, if a service member plans to retire or separate during the collection period, how will the remaining taxes be collected if they're not here for the entire 24 installments?
Sure. If you separate or retire prior to the deferred Social Security taxes being collected in full, you are still responsible for the remainder of the uncollected Social Security taxes. The unpaid balance will be collected from your final pay, or if we're unable to fully collect from your final pay, you may receive a debt letter with instructions for how to repay this.
Well, we've seen some discussions on out-of-service debt collection impacting credit scores. So to clarify, if the service member is making payments on the owed collection, there will be no impact to his or her credit score, but it's important to make sure that the debt is still paid as long as the debt is still paid on time. And this is an opportune time to meet with a personal financial manager or counselor at your installation to review or establish a spending plan to discuss spending changes to your account to adjust for these collection purposes. Don, but before I take us off course in discussing credit and debt management, let's address the collection process for our Guard and Reserve members. Since drill weekends and statuses can vary greatly over the course of a year, how will the collection of the deferred taxes be applied to members of the Guard and Reserve?
Well, the collection amount for the Guard and Reserve members will be 2% of their net available pay from each weekly, mid-month, and end-of-month pay, and will continue until all of the deferred taxes have been repaid in full. This may extend beyond the December 31st, 2021 collection period due to the intermittent nature of when members tend to perform drill or their training periods and how much was actually deferred. So as is the same for the active component, the normal 6.2% Social Security tax withholdings will also be deducted from their pay beginning January 2021. So just like you said, it will be the 2021 withholdings from their normal pay, plus we will be collecting the deferred 2020 Social Security taxes as well. Also remaining the same across both active and reserve components, if members separate or retire prior to the deferred Social Security tax being collected in full, they are still responsible for the remainder of the uncollected Social Security taxes. The unpaid balance will be collected from the final pay, or if unable to fully collect from the final pay, they may receive a debt letter with instructions for repayment.
Now, as the collection period overlaps the 2020 tax filing season, it's my understanding that in most cases, amended returns will not be needed. But we do want to encourage service members to visit the IRS website for more information on this topic and to utilize personal financial managers and counselors at your military installation or the Military One-Source Tax Services.
That's correct, Andy. It's also important to continue to visit the DFAS website for the most current and up-to-date information available. We will continue to update the information and the frequently asked questions to answer as many questions as we can during the collection period.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for being here. This has been a short but informative discussion on how the repayment period will work in terms of time and the math quickly behind it. And so we know that you and your team are answering questions and providing updated information as quickly as possible. But I would also remind folks that as information changes, the latest source of information to check would be that DFAS website. Thank you all for joining us today.